Oh, hey, yeah, it is that time of year again. Yeah, we're I guess experiencing some of the early Halloween haunt here at Neptune Systems. Well, thanks again for joining me, guys. I got rid of him here for Let's Talk Reef. It's the second episode. Really excited to have you guys back. I hope the audience is growing. I hope you guys are enjoyed the show last time, 2 weeks ago. We're definitely got a lot of great response from you guys. Really appreciate all the positivity that came in through the comments. And this week we're actually doing something a little bit different. We're streaming both to YouTube and to Facebook. We've got some feedback from people that they wanted to see the live stream on YouTube, so we found a way to do it with the service. And hopefully you guys out in YouTube land are watching this. I see I've got a couple of people on here from YouTube. And hopefully the stream is going okay, because we are trying some new technology in order to bring this to you simultaneously through both streams. A little review. The format of this show that we're going to be bringing to you guys is really a mix of things. It's reef news, it's tips, good advice on using your apex, good advice on, or hopefully good advice on reef keeping in general, and kind of have a really good mixed format to help you be more successful as a reef keeper. Oh, we got some more people joining us on YouTube. That's awesome. I see that Ash Fekay and Brandon Reedy, along with Nancy McCrae and others, are joining us once again. Thanks, guys. Definitely appreciate you guys coming and watching the show. One of the things that people asked also is, how often are we going to do these? These will be a regularly scheduled event, a regularly scheduled live stream. They will be every other Tuesday at the same exact time, 5 p.m. So the next one, I think I have it on here, I can put it on the screen, will be November 13th at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time now, because we'll be off of the daylight savings time at that time. And we'll be bringing you another episode then, and carrying them through hopefully every 2 weeks, as long as you guys want them. One of the things we did last show was to ask you guys to put in your questions and comments. There was some confusion as to saying, wait, you didn't give away the stuff at the end. Well, we didn't do it at the very end because we have to randomly generate it, and we wanted to make sure we got enough people in there in the questions and comments, but we did give away the prizes. We gave away a kit of swag, so to speak, to Scott Van Caster. Let's see. Let's get his name up there. Okay, Scott Van Caster and Joel Rodriguez. Joel Rodriguez won the AFS, but we reached out for Joel and haven't heard from him yet. So hopefully, Joel, if you're out there, if you see this, please contact us. You can contact us on our Facebook page or sales@neptunesystems.com. You can definitely contact us and get your free AFS. This week, we have some cool swag. I know a lot of you guys love the hats, right? So we're going to have one of these cool Neptune Systems hats along with an orange Control Freak shirt, so you can be sporting your orange and gray properly. So all you have to do is go ahead and leave a comment or a question on the live stream. We will put together all of the comments and questions from both YouTube and from Facebook. So make sure you get those questions and comments in there, and maybe we'll take one of those questions right here on air. The other thing, let's get a lot of people watching this. So share the live stream, share the recorded live stream, let people know about it. Definitely participate. When we have those questions, put them in the, in the spot below on Facebook or on YouTube. Definitely participate and get your friends and other reef keepers to participate so we can make this a big event every 2 weeks. We will be giving another thing away, which is kind of cool, a leak detection kit. So that will be today's big prize for somebody who puts a comment or a question in. So that's really neat. And we will be drawing those after the event ends, usually the next day, and notify people at that point. So it won't be at the end of the broadcast. Let's go right into the first thing that I have here, which is Neptune news. Wanted to just highlight some things that are going on in the Neptune world, things you may have seen recently. First of all, we talked about Alexa last week. I did put together an Alexa video that went out this week, so if you haven't seen it, it is available on both YouTube and on Facebook, where you can learn how to set up Alexa and do a couple of the more simple things in Alexa. It's not a long video, it's only 6 minutes, so it should be a quick watch for you. We also released recently the video visiting Stephen Wilson's house and seeing his tank. It was a pretty cool experience to go out to his house and to see all of his gear. So definitely watch that video, especially if you want to see a gearhead. His tank is only 6 months in his new house, so there's not a ton of grow out in there, but he does have a few cool fish, and absolutely, if you're into the gear and a really nice fish room, definitely watch that video. Another thing that surprisingly I have seen some people not realize out on social media recently is the fact that we do have an Android app, a new Android app, the one that will have an orange Neptune logo on it in the Play Store and in the Google Play Store. And so you can go out and download that if you're an Android person now for your tablet or for your phone and use it. It was surprising to me how many people had not yet seen that we have this new Android app available. So it's pretty cool. Now, sometimes I want to bring some whispers. We got some feedback on our last live stream about our voice control, and specifically, we're talking about Alexa. We had a lot of people ask us about Google Voice. No commitment, but I am hearing some pretty strong whispers over the wall about the Google Home stuff. There might be some work being done on that. So no commitments yet, but it looks like if there's going to be another voice add-on, that might be the next one that we do. So hopefully all you guys who did put in your comments and feedback about Google Home, you guys know that we're listening. We're definitely listening to what you guys want. So that's some of the Neptune news there. Now I want to talk about some Reef news. I don't know how many of you guys know what this satellite image is. Somebody might want to answer, but I'll just give it away right away. This is actually Fiji. Well, there's a lot of islands in Fiji. And I wanted to talk about Fiji in particular and corals in general. There's a lot of stuff happening right now out there in terms of cutting off the supply of corals into the hobby. And it's definitely, something that, I really think that you guys, need to pay attention to and try to support the right causes to keep this from happening. One of the things that I think a lot of non-hobbyists don't understand is that corals are not just taken out of the ocean. Of course, some of them are taken straight out of the ocean, but the vast majority of corals, for instance, the ones that came out of Fiji and ones that are coming out of Indonesia, they're actually farmed. They're actually put onto racks and grown just like growing, vegetables, so to speak, out in the ocean. And this has been done this way for quite some time. And believe it or not, these bans aren't just banning wild-caught corals or wild-taken corals. They're actually banning even the ones that are done in, aquaculture, mariculture, whatever you want to call it. And there's a large percentage of the indigenous people or people that are employed or supported by people employed in these areas in this particular, in the coral growing facilities in Indonesia and in Fiji and whatnot. And in Fiji in particular, earlier this year, or at the beginning of this year, they actually banned all export of coral out of Fiji, including the stuff that's grown. And the one facility there that is the big one that we all eventually see stuff in our local fish stores from is Walt Smith. And Walt Smith International, and you know, they do other things too, but they pioneered the idea of this coral growing in Fiji. Really brought it to Fiji and have helped a lot of people there. And it's not hurting the environment by them growing these corals and then selling them off into us, and it's helping all of these people have a livelihood. It's definitely something that you should be aware of, and you should support causes around keeping this going. Because it's becoming, oh, and also Walt Smith at MACNA this year received a Pioneer Award for his efforts and the things that he has done in Fiji in terms of growing corals. And this is something you want to pay attention to a lot because it's spreading around too. There's actually a halt. Some people say it's not a ban, some people say it is a ban. But corals out of Indonesia are also being held back. Lots of people are saying that it's going to open up soon, and some people, there's a lot of information or even possibly misinformation on this topic. But know this is something that if you guys as hobbyists don't get involved and try to keep this around, it's going to go away. We're going to lose a lot of these, and it's sad because we actually take care of these corals, and there might be corals at some point that we have in captivity that are no longer in the wild. And they have to come to us as hobbyists. That may happen. But anyway, it is a sustainable way of growing coral and providing it for the industry. So that is a piece of news that I wanted to bring to you guys. And you can go up and look up more information on this out on the internet, of course. Now, next thing that like to talk about is a new product. I like to bring up a product that I'm using, or that I know people in the office are using, or that I've seen recently that I thought was really cool. Last week I brought one in. This week I'm going to show you guys something. Most of you are familiar with frag plugs. These are little discs that we mount our frags on so they can grow out, or the things that when we buy frags they're generally mounted to. After you grow out your corals, you can then cut off pieces of them, glue them onto your own frag plugs or frag discs, and then sell them off to your buddies. That's what I do. There are a lot of different frag plugs, as you see here, and some of them work pretty well, and quite a bit of them don't work really well. The frags fall off of them. They don't look good. After a coral grows out and encrusts on it and you try to put it in your tank, it does not look natural at all. A company who I use their products for a while is Reef Manufacturing, Real Reef Solutions. And they've recently come up with a product that I think is really cool. Let me show you what it is. These are let's see if I can get the thing in the right direction here and get a different shot. So these are the Real Reef Frag Rocks, okay? And they come in a bucket like this to the store. The stores may sell them individually, like you're picking up chewing gum at the register. But these are some really, really cool guys here. Basically, let me put you back on the other camera here so I can share something else. Here's what it looks like inside the bucket. These guys come in all shapes and sizes. And what's cool about them is they look just like your rock in your aquarium, all with the coralline already on them and ready to go. One of the cool things about them is when you put a frag into them, especially if it's one that will fit down inside one of the holes, and some of them have large holes, right? Some of them have smaller holes. The frag actually touches the sides of the hole, and it's a very vertical hole in such a way that it immediately starts to grow out onto the frag plug. I brought some frags back from Jimmy Colson's house in Vegas when we were out there, some really cool stuff. And I put them immediately into these, and they were encrusting within a week out onto the rock like I've never seen a frag plug work. Now, I think I saw one person post in here, yes, but they're super expensive. Yeah, for a frag plug, they're very expensive. I can't see a coral growing facility using these because they are expensive in that respect. But for you as an individual, especially if you're putting corals in other places in your tank or sharing them with your friends, they do look really cool. And if they cost 75 cents for a plug or even $1 for a plug, I don't think that's too much when we consider how much the corals cost. But I just wanted to bring these to you guys because I thought they were pretty cool. They do have them at some local fish stores right now. Hopefully they're going to have them in more. Real Reef brings some great solutions to market, and this just happens to be another one I wanted to tell you guys about. Okay, next thing. Let's do a feature on a local fish store. This is something I want to bring every one of these episodes. I want to feature one of the local fish stores out there that I think is doing a bang-up job as a local fish store as well as a Neptune Systems dealer. And in that regard, they stock our products. They have staff that understand how to use the products and can provide you support and understanding of what it is that each of the products do and how they might work. They overall just are, in the top 10% of stores. So the store that I'm going to bring to you guys this week is Neptune Aquatics. Funny, huh? Neptune Aquatics, Neptune Systems. Neptune Aquatics is here in San Jose. You guys have probably seen me do other live streams on them. Maybe you're tired of me doing a live stream on them, but they are such a great store. They are a big store. They have a great showroom. They have lots and lots of really nice high-end corals. You can see here I've got this video showing right now. It's showing one of their display tanks with a bunch of the high-end coral in it. They've got a giant tank with a Neptune on it, Neptune Apex, the newer Apex with an iPad, so you can see how that works, along with a dose and cores. And so they're demoing all of the products, so you get to see them in action before you put them in your tank, and you can talk to the guys there. Definitely a store I'd go and check out, especially even if you're just visiting the area. If you guys also have a store that you want me to feature, please put it in the notes and comments because I'll take a look at them. If they're a Neptune Systems dealer, we'll see about getting them featured one of these weeks as well. And so what else about Neptune Systems? Robert and Sarissa run the place for many, many years. They are definitely a family-run type of establishment. So what they've done for us, look, you can see the stock there. They stock all the Neptune Systems products. What they have done for you guys that happen to be in this area is they're going to put together a sale on Livestock, 20% off. Just mentioned to them, you saw it on the Let's Talk Reef episode. The code is Neptune to Neptune because it's, I guess, us to them. So definitely go in there, pick yourself up something, and take a look around. Definitely nice store to go to, especially, again, if you're in the area, stop in there. Okay, next up, how many of you guys have test kits from all of these different companies? Okay, we've got test kits from Seachem and Red Sea, and we have Salifert, and we have Elos, and you get these test kits in these boxes, and what ends up happening is that there's really not that much in the box, right? There's some instructions, 1 or 2 bottles, a spoon. That's pretty much it. These things have to be stored somewhere. Often the instructions get in the wrong spot. The boxes get all crunched up and nasty. They don't stack nice because they're different shapes. Tons of issues with these test kits and storing them and keeping track of everything. And the tip I'm going to bring to you guys today is something that I've done for a few years now. And I think it's a very handy way of keeping all these test kits and keeping them organized. This is a Milwaukee, what is it called? I think I have it on here, the name. It's a Milwaukee 10-compartment Red Deep Pro small parts organizer. And why is this thing cool? I'm going to show you why. You can see here, I've got the names, they're kind of upside down there, of all the different test kits that I have. And what's really cool is that each of these is removable. So I go and dump my test kits into each one of these, even my Hanna test kits, right? So I've got a Hanna test kit, I've got the vials that go to it, I've got syringes, extra syringes. If you've got a Hanna, you know it's got this big white box that you can barely ever get anything back into and snap it into. It's kind of a pain. Got the instructions here. Now I can take one out at a time, use it, finish using it, and then put it back in and then grab the next one. Okay, I'm going to grab and use my phosphate test now. And when I'm done, I just close this whole thing back up and store it underneath my tank or next to my tank or in the closet or wherever it may be. Now what's really neat with these also is if you have another one of these, you can put in it, say, little parts and pieces for plumbing or tools, for reef keeping, and they actually snap together and stack one on top of another. And you can lift the lid up even when they're stacked. Definitely a really, really cool product. They cost $20. You can get them at Home Depot. And I think it's one of the neatest things that I've used on my tank lately for organizing things, because I'm not really an organized person. But if you give me something like that, it definitely helps. So, okay, let's see what's going on here in our comments for a second. Well, everybody liked that idea. That's good. And somebody wants me to put the Amazon link in. I'll see if I can find it on Amazon and put that in the comments for you guys. Next up, let's see here. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to talk about is our wave pump. Okay, and no, I'm not going to try to sell you the wave pump. I'm going to talk about some things with taking care of the wave pump and kind of some do's and don'ts and things with the wave pump. I run 5 of these on my aquarium. But it's a big aquarium, so most people only have, maybe 2 of these on their aquarium. The first thing to understand with the wave pump is that this magnet is super powerful. This magnet will go through 1-inch glass, right? I have 3/4-inch glass. It holds them tight on the glass. The other thing to understand too is if you're going to put them back together, like let's say to store them, or you're taking down your tank and you want to put them away, whatever it may be, you're doing another tank, make sure you put a spacer in there, because if these magnets touch each other, you're going to have a heck of a time pulling them apart. And moreover, when you do pull them apart, what's going to end up happening is these little bumpers that are the vibration dampeners are going to fall out or come out, and you're going to have to put the whole thing back together again, and that is not fun. Now, one of the really neat things about the Wave is we have a long cord. I know I saw something on one of the social media sites the other day that said the reason they like one particular pump is that you can take it out and clean it and you don't have to worry about the wires. But I'm going to show you that with the long wire that's on the Wave, you can take the Wave out of the water, and those of you that have a Wave know one of the features of the Wave is as soon as you pull it out of the water, the propeller stops. So you don't have to worry about shutting off your waves before you take them out. Now, once you take them out of the water, you've got this long cable, right? And I'm going to show you a little video here. This is what I do with my waves. Right next to my tank, I have a jug. It can be a peanut jug. It can be one of these 1-gallon jugs, like from Bulk Reef Supply, for instance, that you can use. And you drop the Wave into that jug of vinegar and water. You can do 50-50 vinegar and water. You can use a citric acid solution if you like. And as soon as you put it in, it turns itself back on, and you can snap that lid right back down on there and keep it from splashing out. Now what's going to happen is that's going to run, and it's actually going to wash your your wave pump. It'll actually warm the water too, because it's putting 30 watts of power into it. And you can run more than one at a time, like I do. Now after you wash them like this, you can just take them out and wipe them down with a rag. I mean, if it's been a long time since you've done it, you might want to take a toothbrush to them. But if you're doing them regularly, you can take them out and wipe them down with a rag. Now, if you have done this maybe 2 or 3 times, maybe it's been 6 months or so, and you really want to give them a deep cleaning, you can take the cover off. You can open it up by twisting it. I happen to have one of these really cool tools that is 3D printed. By the way, if you know somebody with a 3D printer or have somebody that has one available, This design is available through our community forum. We have a forum out there that will give you I guess the file that you need to do the 3D printing. But this cool little gadget here just slips on like that, and then you can see if I could do it right. I get it the right way. Slip it on, and then you go like that. Now you want to be really careful because these shafts break super easy. So if you have this thing near this thing, okay, on the table, they're going to come together and bad things are going to happen. It's going to snap that ceramic shaft. So keep the other magnets and the pump itself away from it while you're working on it, cleaning on it, setting it on the table. But if you've run it in the water vinegar solution like I've shown, you should just be able to just wipe this down with a rag, put it back together, snap it all back together, and put it back in your tank. And you never have to take the wave away from the aquarium at all. Just snaps back in like that and snaps on like that. So there's the wave and some of the how to do the wave stuff. Let's see if there's a couple of questions here that you guys might have. Okay. Look at that. Joel said he didn't know that it stops out of the water. So good, that's good. And somebody posted the link for the, somebody posted the link for the parts organizer. That's cool. I want to control Alexa in Japan. Looking for a question. Oh, can we safely use the extension cord you sell on the Wave? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you can't put 3 or 4 of these things together, but you can put one and extend it out one. That's the one link extension cable. Another person, let's see here, wrote, Terrence, I have a 60-gallon cube and I have 2 waves. Does it hurt running them at lower since it's such a small tank? It's a really good question. You absolutely can run 2 waves in a 60. You just have to understand that if you have sugar fine sand, it's going to be a lot more difficult to get them pointed in a way that is going to keep the sand from blowing around. You also will need to play around with pointing them at the glass, either on the back wall pointed at the side glass or the side back wall pointed at the front glass. It's really going to depend on each and everybody's aquarium how well it's going to work. One of them might be plenty to work in a 60. So, okay, I like this. This is Robert from YouTube. Robert Vega says, I'm in the middle of a build and I have none of this. Watching you display all this is such a tease. Well, one of these times you're going to be a control freak too. I know that. I know that's how it works. Okay, so I think we have another segment that's coming up that you guys know and love, and let's go ahead and get into that. All right, Paul.
Hey, what's up?
How's it going? 2 weeks.
Yeah, I know.
Flies by, doesn't it?
Round 2, right?
So funny. I'm so happy to have you here again, and I know they're happy as well.
Yeah.
Have you here on Let's Talk Reef, and we're going to do this every 2 weeks. We're going to bring you in.
That's what I hear.
And look, I didn't cover up your title this time with the thing,
thanks.
so I'm getting better at this with the one-man band of the production stuff. But hopefully we're going to get something good out of you today.
Yeah, the kinks, right?
So,
yeah. Last week, right, or 2 weeks ago, right, we went over something really simple. You got new Wi-Fi, right? And, a lot of people here at the office and, on Facebook, YouTube, had a lot of other questions and maybe wanted me to get a little bit more technical. How would you feel about that, Terrence?
Well, that's fine. I think that I know it's a tightrope we have to walk here between the beginners and the experts. So maybe we'll kind of alternate it every other week or something.
Yeah. So this week I'm going to get into a little bit more of a complex topic. Get out my weed whacker. We're going to probably get into the weeds a little bit.
Okay.
So basically, one thing we get asked a lot of times, right, is I want a lot of different things to happen at once, right? I want to have that happen at a schedule.
Okay.
Okay. Because you can make a lot of things happen at once really easily by just putting a feed cycle on something, right, Terrence?
Okay, yeah, I mean, I have them on mine. I hit
Exactly.
feed A.
And a lot of things happen,
A lot of
right?
things happen, yeah.
And you have a feed A statement in all these different places, right? But the problem with, not necessarily a problem, but the thing that feeds can't do is they can't do those things on a schedule, right? So one thing I'm going to show you.
So you mean like a whole bunch of a sequence of things that happens
Yes.
automatically for me without me having to do anything?
Yeah, to happen at a schedule event, and then also happen on demand when you want it to have happen, right?
Right.
So what I call those are routines, all right? And so today I'm going to go after a routine that we get asked a lot. I want to schedule a feeding, and people want a lot of different things to happen in those feedings.
Right.
So I'm going to kind
It's
of
not just the automatic feeder.
just not the
you've got a bunch of
AFS operating, right? But just one thing after another,
Okay.
right? They want a lot of things to happen on a scheduled event. So that's what we're going to go over today.
Okay. Hopefully you won't lose me along the way.
Yeah, and if I do, I know you're going to ask me the questions. You're going to ask me to clarify. So, and I'll be happy to do that.
Okay.
Right. So, we're going to go over to the screen, right, Terrence?
Oh, yeah. Let me get you set up there on the Brady Bunch.
Yeah.
I love the Brady
I love
Bunch.
the Brady Bunch. It's one of my favorite parts.
All right.
Oh, hey,
there we
look.
are. You might have to adjust your camera a little bit.
All right.
Let's get Paul. There we go.
That
Perfect.
good?
Perfect.
All right, great. So we're here. The first thing you need to do when you think about a routine, right, is you need to conceptualize that routine. Okay. So you have to think about what you want to have happen, right? What we're doing. So what we're doing today is we are doing a feed cycle, right? And first thing you need to think about is, well, when you want to have that feed cycle happen. Okay, and for the example today, what we're going to do, Terrence, is we're going to basically program that to happen at 3 o'clock every day.
Okay.
Have it last for 5 minutes, and then any time that I want. So
Okay.
any time that I say, I want to feed my fish, feed my fish. All right? And so that's the first thing we need to think about. Second thing, we need to think about what needs to happen.
Okay.
Right? So to think about any sort of feed schedule, a lot of people like to turn off the return pump or slow their return pump down. Okay? That's the first part of it. Secondly, you need to think, well...
This is so basically you don't have all the food going over the overflow, right?
Very good, thanks.
And when we do the core pump, we have them calibrate it so that the water doesn't all return to the sump either. So you're not really shutting off the pump with like the core, right? You're just going to that minimum setting.
Exactly, right? And we slow down the return pumps so the food doesn't go over the overflow. Thanks. And next thing we want to do is, what happens when your return pump turns off and your skimmer keeps running, Terrence?
Well, it's going to overflow because the sump level is going to rise.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
And then the skimmer is not set for that sump level, and then all my skimmate goes over the top and back into my tank and pollutes my whole tank.
And all that hard work your skimmer did over the last couple weeks, well, it's not so much anymore. So
bad news.
Turn the skimmer off, right? Then maybe you want to turn your power heads down a little bit. This is kind of optional. Maybe if you don't have a controllable return pump, you just want to turn them off, right? But that's something a lot of people like to do because they don't want the food. They want the fish to have the opportunity to feed the fish, right?
I'm not in that camp. I'm the guy that I just like the stuff just to keep whipping around.
I've seen you feed. Okay.
Five waves.
Yeah, I've seen you feed. There's a lot of food that goes in your tank when you feed.
I do feed a lot.
Right. And then finally, we want that feeder to operate.
Okay.
We don't want that feeder to operate immediately because what will happen if it operates immediately? All that food will go into the overflow, right?
Right. So you got to wait for all of these actions to happen and for everything to kind of get settled and gelled, and then you throw the food in.
Exactly. So we're adding up a lot of things we need to do here, right?
Yeah, it's a lot of stuff.
But I'm going to take you through it.
Okay.
And finally, everything turns back on. The skimmer, we wait a little bit because we want that sump to empty down a little bit before we turn that skimmer back on. So that's the last part of the equation.
Okay.
So where do we start?
I don't know. In the AFS?
Yeah, kind of. First thing we need to start is we need to start of when.
Okay.
When is where we have to start with this. Okay. So the way we do that is you're going to be on your dashboard. First thing you're going to do is you're going to hit that little configuration gear. Okay. And then you're going to hit your outlet button.
Okay.
All right. So you're here.
The output button.
Output button. Thank you, Terrence.
So the output button, that's the one that looks like an American plug, right?
Like an American plug, exactly. If you've traveled to the States or you're a member, here in the United States, you'll understand that. A member.
Yeah. A member?
Yeah, I don't know. That's the word that came, right?
No, we're citizens.
Okay, so and when you're on this page, you're going to see this one outlet where maybe you've clicked it before. You have no idea what it is because it's called a virtual output.
Okay.
Ooh, scary.
Okay.
Right, where Terrence is getting a little nervous here,
yes,
guys.
I am.
Okay. We're going to go ahead and...
Is that virtual? Is that like an imaginary number in
doesn't. That's just what it's called.
Okay.
Don't worry about what it's called.
All
We can
right.
call it a routine outlet.
You're gonna take it easy on me, okay?
But just know you just have to click this button.
Okay.
And we're going to add that.
Okay.
All right. And you're going to just. It's going to ask you for a name.
Hey, you know what? I'm gonna give you a question right now. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. I'm ready.
This is a good one. I'm gonna take your cursor here, and I'm gonna tell you that George Kiridakius said, "What's the difference between an outlet and an output?" LOL.
Oh, so funny, George. So an outlet was the classic name that we used to describe on-off devices in the aquarium, right? As we thought more about that, they weren't necessarily outlets. There were a lot of outputs.
It's because back in the day, there were only outlets, right?
Exactly.
Like way back in the day.
And now you can have devices like a wave, that isn't necessarily an outlet, right? That still does something and has is what we call an output. So we decided to change that, and that's why a lot of people who've been using the Apex for a long time will, basically will sub those names for each other, right? Me being one of them. But you're going to be on this virtual. But back to this, right?
Yes.
You're going to be on this virtual output, okay? And you're just going to call it something appropriate for what you want to do, and we're just going to call it feeding.
Okay.
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 And Terrence moved my cursor, guys. Sorry. My whole flow. And then we're going to go to the outlet list.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to click on that outlet I just named. Don't worry, it got called feeding right away by what we just did there.
But you have a lot of outputs there, it looks like.
I'm a control freak, Terrence. I can't help it.
I got
it. And once you're going to get it, you're going to see something like this. And you're going to be like, what do I do here? Scroll down to the bottom a little bit. You see where I have that arrow down at the bottom? Scroll down there to the bottom, okay, into that blank area.
Okay.
And just type this.
This looks like a lot of code.
This is code, yes.
Okay.
Okay, don't worry, it's easy. You just type if time 1500, which is also known as 3 p.m. in the United States, to 1504, then on.
Okay.
That's going to create a scheduled feeding at 3 o'clock for 5 minutes. A lot of people say, well, you have 304 there. How does that work? Well, what that 304 or 1504 actually is, Terrence, that's 1504 and 59 seconds.
Okay.
So for the purposes of this, it's 305.
So that's actually 5 minutes, even though it looks like it's 4. Okay.
So the beginning time in all the if time statements always is 00. So that 15 is 150000.
Okay.
Right? That's the second time statement
it's
in an
the
if
whole
time
minute
statement.
at that point.
Is the 59 seconds.
Okay.
All right?
Got it.
A little bit of info there for you.
So 5 minutes, this thing's going to happen once a day at 3 o'clock.
Exactly.
Got it. Okay,
exactly.
that's what this is.
Then we want to make sure it happens at any time. So we can just set up and put a feed statement in there. We're just
So we have 4 of these on the Apex, right?
We have A, B, C, and D.
Okay.
If you're already using one, put something else there. But if you're not using a feed cycle, just put if feed A 000, then on. Okay. Don't worry, guys. You can come back. It's going to be posted, so you can write this down in your own outlet and stuff. Everything later. Okay.
Or watch it over.
Over and over and over again. Okay, so now we've created the when. Now we need to start creating what we need to have happen.
Okay.
So the first part of all this is the return pump slows down. Okay. So to do that, I'm going to go to my return pump outlet.
And which one are you using?
I'm using the core. Core,
Yes, the core.
Can't help myself, sorry guys. And you're going to click on that core outlet, all right? If you have a regular on-off return pump, you're going to go to your on-off return pump outlet. If you have a variably controlled through your Apex, like a Varios, right? You're going to click on that, okay? But go to your outlet, okay? Click on that gear up in the top right-hand corner, okay? That's circled there. That's your configuration gear. If you're in an on-off outlet, you're just going to change the control type to advanced, okay? You see there how I've selected advanced and you just want to have whatever's there, just change to advanced, all right? And then you're just going to add this statement. If output feeding...
You could have other statements in there, right?
You could have other things already there. Just put this down at the bottom. And you're just going to say, if output feeding equals on, then 002.
Okay.
And that 002 represents I want to run my core at 2% power during a feeding.
Okay.
Right? So I want a little bit of water.
A trickle is going to go in because we've configured the core, I guess, right? We've done our IQ level, right, with the core, and that sets it to at 1%, right? It's going to keep it in stasis with the that's a big word. It keeps it keeps it at the level of the constant level right there at the
just so maybe
maybe
it's trickling into your tank a little bit. Maybe it's just in the pipe at 1%, 2%. You may need to change this, and tweak it a little bit.
If you want a little more flow, you can add it up to 4% or something.
4 or 5, whatever, right? If you're in an on-off outlet, don't worry, just put off.
Okay.
Okay.
And don't delete the rest of the code in there.
And don't delete the rest of the code. Just put this at the bottom of all that code.
Okay.
All right? And then we're just going to update it to Fusion.
Okay.
We've updated to Fusion, so now we're done with our return pump.
It'll be orange. That icon will be orange telling me I need to do it, right?
Exactly, yeah. And, we're done there. And we can now go to our next thing, which we want the skimmer to turn on.
Okay.
Right? And we've done videos before on tasks. So you're back on your dashboard, okay? You're going to click on that clipboard-looking button. That's called the task. Okay? Tasks are great, and I'm going to show you one of my favorite tasks right now. It's the skimmer task. Okay? I like the skimmer task because it's exactly how I would control a skimmer, and it's really easy to set up.
So again, this is basically what we want to do is we want to have the skimmer run normal, except when the return pump basically turns off, or in this case goes down to a very low percentage because the sump level is going to come up.
Exactly.
So before we do that, we want to basically tell the skimmer, hey, shut down, and we want the skimmer to come on in a delayed mode afterward. And so even if you don't have even if you're not doing this feed mode, you'll want to run this task, I would imagine.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. This is just how you would want to run a skimmer. I can't imagine not wanting to run a skimmer unless you have a huge sump.
Okay.
And so you click on that. It's just going to walk you through.
Okay.
It's going to tell you. It's going to say right there where you want to delay. If you want to delay 1 minute, you can set 1 minute. If you want to do 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, you can automatically put that delay. And this skimmer is going to be programmed. So anytime your return pump is off, the skimmer's off. And as soon as the return pump turns on, delay it for however long you set right here.
So it's 5 minutes is probably more than enough time for anybody's aquarium, I would imagine.
I think some people might want to do it longer because if they're doing heavy feedings and things like that, they may want the food to stay in the water column a little longer before they start skimming it out. So some people I've seen put half an hour, 60 minutes there, that kind of thing.
Okay.
But it's easy to set up, and that's it. The skimmer's done. Okay. Next up, we need to either turn off or slow down our power heads if you want to. Okay. I know you don't want to, Terrence, but right. we'll hold with me here.
I put them on storm mode.
I know you do. We're gonna go ahead and select a wave outlet here. All right. And the same concept applies if you have an on-off power head. If you have a Vortec, just go to that device. Okay. And click on that gear button again, just like we did before. And we're going to add almost exactly what we did before, right? We're just going to say...
So where am I exactly right now? I'm on the...
So you just clicked on that gear button from your wave.
Okay, I'm on the wave. Right? Okay, got it.
And we clicked on the advanced tab, and we just put that same statement that we used in our core. Okay. And if you have multiple waves, you just do this on all your waves.
And this is to get them into 1%. If I want them to go off, I would just type off there,
You just put off, that's right.
Okay.
You updated to Apex Fusion, and now your power heads are going to slow down when this routine happens as well. Okay. And finally, we want the AFS to operate.
Okay, automatic feeding system.
The automatic feeding system, a product made by Neptune Systems, the AFS. Okay. And I just go to my AFS outlet. Okay. All right. When you get to the AFS outlet, if it's unconfigured, it's going to look something like this. Okay. Just select that control type up there. Select advanced. All right, and what's in there right then, just get rid of it because what we're doing is something a little bit different than the normal use of an AFS. All right.
So the normal programming for an AFS just does a very simple thing.
Just a simple turn when you hit the feed cycle.
Right.
Right. And so what we're going to do here is we're going to do that almost that exact same statement that we used in the core and the wave, except now we're going to say instead of equals on then off, we're going to say equals on then on, right? Because we want this feeder to turn on, right? So that's all we're going to do. Now the second part of this is we don't want that AFS to operate as soon as the routine starts. We don't want that to start at 3 o'clock, do we?
No.
We want it to delay. We've already talked about that, And so the way that we do that, Terrence, is using the defer statement. Okay. The defer statement is kind of this scary statement that some people understand.
I always have a hard time with it. Okay.
I know.
I've been around forever. I know, but all of these funky statements I have a hard time with. So hopefully you can explain it to me.
I get it. And if you go and look at some of your Apex code, you'll see that the task that we've built and things like that automatically enter those defers in for you. Okay. And it's a very commonly used syntax in the Apex. Ooh, another scary word. But syntax used in the Apex to do a great function. Basically, what the defer statement says is just wait until something is true for 30 seconds, for a certain amount of time. Okay, so in this statement, I want to wait, for that feeding outlet to be true. I want that to be on for at least the amount of time that I say there, 30 seconds, before I actually operate the feeder.
So no matter what statements I have in here, if I tell this particular output to come to the on state, if I have a defer anywhere in those statements, it's going to delay for that amount of time before it does the actual on.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes, exactly. And that defer statement applies to all on statements.
And it's 30 seconds, right? That I'm looking at here. So
yes, in this situation it's 30
minutes
seconds.
and seconds.
So for me, 30 seconds works as the amount of time that takes the amount of time for my fish to be ready to feed after I put the power heads slowed down, after my return pump stops draining down into my overflow. That's about how long it takes. For you, it may be a minute.
Right,
For some people, it may be 10 seconds, right?
Right.
You just kind of have to experiment with this to see how long it's going to be for you.
Okay.
30 is going to be a pretty good kind of run-of-the-mill time for
Okay.
most people, okay? And so we put that defer statement in there, and at that point, Terrence, we're done,
Okay.
okay? Because the skimmer was already finished with the task.
So basically what you've done here is this virtual output thing is like the master controller, right?
Exactly.
For everything else. And so, I mean, the way I see it is that this master controller thing
Yep.
says when something is going to happen, and then they all kind of tie into that and say, well, if that thing is going, then do my thing.
And what's cool about this too, Terrence, is now if, let's say you want to feed 2 times a day.
Okay.
Let's say you're home.
I know
Let's
what
say
you're
you're
getting at.
home, right?
I know what you're getting at.
And you're home and you don't want to schedule feedings anymore. You want to be there while you're fishing,
Okay.
right? You can just go into that one virtual outlet and either add time to another if time statement.
Right.
You could add
Day a week?
Yeah, you could add a day of a week.
Right.
You could add multiple times. If you're super nerd and you get one of those breakout boxes, I hear some kid's been making a pretty cool little switch.
Yeah, he's got some switch that he showed off in
Yeah,
Chicago.
yeah. So, you got this switch, right, that if you could just push a tactile button, it also activates it. And you can do all these sort of different things, and you don't now need to go to every single outlet that you're controlling. You just have to go to that master routine outlet.
Well, probably they can find out a lot of this stuff out on our community forum, right?
Right. Trust me, the control
community
freaks want to
forum
help you.
And our official Neptune Facebook page are 2 places that you should go to get a little bit more advanced knowledge on some of these kinds of things, right?
Yeah. And now it works off of Feed A too, because we put that in there. And that video you made on Alexa, I loved it.
Oh yeah,
it was
good.
great. It was great.
Glad.
It was great.
Well, thank you, Paul.
I just wanted to say, I don't think I actually told you that yet. You said to watch it, and I did. You could even say, hey Alexa, ask Apex Fusion to feed my fish. And it's going to run right through this routine with what we did today.
That's so
just
cool.
set it up just like that.
Just
right
like
there.
that, because I did the feed mode A for them. So yeah, go watch. I mean, absolutely go watch that video and put this in there. Well, I think you definitely boiled it down. I think for the people. I mean, there is some technicality in there and whatnot, but I think you definitely boiled it down for everybody. Let me get my cursor back here, get us back on a white shot. I think that. There's a lot of different configurations that you can do with the Apex. It's super powerful. We get that it's daunting and there's a lot to take in. But one of the big advantages that you have with the Apex is the community, all of our staff here to help, the live stream that we're doing right now, because you can start out and do very simple things, like you showed deleting the feed cycle that just comes from setting up the AFS.
Yeah.
But then you can take it to that next step and the next step, and you can just slowly do more and more with it. So I think that's kind of what you got across, and it was really good.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of always think of kind of Apex programming as 100, 200, 300 level kind of stuff, right?
Okay.
There can be
It's long time ago for me.
really advanced stuff, and then there can be really simple stuff. And what we kind of tackled today was in that 200 to 300 level stuff.
That's a good way of looking at it. I think that's definitely good. And as far as you guys, give some feedback to us. Hey, this is way too advanced, or hey, you need to go deeper, or can we have 2 different things? Any kind of feedback you want, because that's how we're going to structure this program, going forward. So let's look at some questions here. Let's see if we can get some deep ones here. Okay.
You want to keep challenging me, huh?
Let's see. Okay, here's one I think I've heard before.
Yeah.
Okay, 2 tech questions. Can you trigger an actual feed mode with a virtual outlet? I have a push button hooked up to my breakout box, and if I have both wired and wireless internet, is there any advantage to using both? So there's 2 questions here. So the first one?
So yes, right. the great thing about that virtual outlet again was, I mentioned a second ago, you could, if you have a breakout box and you have a switch connected to that, you could say if switch 1 closed, then on.
Then on, yeah.
And it's going to be the same statement as if feed A, right? It's going to be the same statement as if time. Anytime that goes closed, that'll happen, right? There's some other things you might need to do if it's a momentary switch.
I was going to say, if it's a momentary switch, I think there's some other tweaks you have to do,
If there's a momentary switch, what you're going to want to use is a min time statement.
Okay, that's for another time.
Yeah, another time.
John, go out to the forum, to the community forum, or to the Facebook, and post this question up there, and I'm sure you're going to get a lot of great response there. As far as having wired in wireless, I know I do that at home. I think it gives redundancy. Is that true?
Yes and no. We do recommend that you have both. Okay. Wired is always going to be best, guys.
Yeah,
right?
I know that sounds funny too, because everybody's on wireless, and some people will try to interpret that as, well, if your wireless is good enough, why do you need a wire? In today's world, there's so many wireless devices and so much communication, crosstalk, and I don't know about you, but I go to the airport and I click on one of these things and it works sometimes, and other times it doesn't work because it's crowded, or you live in an apartment building.
Yeah.
The number one safest way to connect up and to get consistency out of your Apex is through a wired solution, for sure.
Yeah.
But I have the wireless too, thinking, well, maybe if something happens, because I have another switch or another router to that, then at least my wireless would pick up. Is that true?
It is true. So if you were going through a switch, or maybe you have an Ethernet cord going through your attic or something like that, and maybe that gets damaged, and that stops working, then Wi-Fi could take over in that situation. So that's where the redundancy is. The Apex will work with both. If you can hardwire, you're just going to have a better experience as a result of that.
Okay.
But we have great Wi-Fi in there too, both
both work.
Both work.
Okay, let's see. Let's try to find something that isn't trying to be too funny. Okay, here's a kind of a more complicated one that a lot of people ask about. Let's see if we can actually see it. Any thoughts about how to program around a battery backup? For example, a Powerhead on a battery backup where you want to turn off the pump and then the backup, when the power goes out, blah, blah, blah.
So that is who's that?
Peter Blair.
Peter Blair. That is it's an involved question, right? And there are ways to do that with the Apex,
to sense that power goes out on the Apex itself, or on one of the energy bars, and then tell it to do to certain devices to be on or off, right?
Terrence, that's going to be probably a great thing as we go into the winter season and stuff like that. That'll probably be a great tech tip kind of corner thing to go through entirely. Essentially, what you're going to want to do is you'll get a UPS, right? You're either going to hook that up to the Apex, or you're going to hook up that to your Energy Bar 832. The Apex will have the ability to determine if it's receiving power via the battery backup, or if it's receiving power via the wall. Okay, there's some things you need to do to make that happen, and that's something that I can maybe explore in another tech corner.
Okay,
sometime.
we'll hit that up later on. I think it's one that we get a lot of questions on.
Yeah, definitely.
Let me see. This is Mark Levinson.
Yeah,
I've got to put this one out here. Okay, I love it. If we could change the word defer to something more logical like wait, that would be awesome. Well, Mark, now all you have to do is remember that defer means wait. There you go.
Yes, you just did it right there. Mark, you created a memory. That's what just happened.
And here's a really good one for me, for Paul. This guy looks a little like James Corden.
Oh, that's
and
funny. That's
for those
funny.
that you don't know, he said, a little, I thought they were about to do carpool karaoke. So,
not the first time.
Care to break one out, Paul?
Not the first time. Not the first time. Probably won't be the last.
Oh my gosh. Okay, let's see here. I don't know if there's any other great questions here.
Yeah.
There's some great comments. Here's an interesting one we get a lot. I can answer this one. Any plans of a wireless energy that does not require an Aquabus? At this point, we haven't seen a wireless solution that we would call reliable in terms of controlling life support systems on our aquariums and doing it in a way that we can assure that we're always going to have that wireless connection. So I would say that is something that's definitely not in our DNA. And on top of that, you have to think about, for the vast majority of customers who have an aquarium, their aquarium is 6 feet wide or smaller. So the idea that you need to have a wireless connection between the devices on there and burden every device that you have with the wireless connection cost, along with the uncertainty, is not something that we think is entirely there. Of course, there are people who want to have something in the next room or what have you.
Yeah.
But again, I don't know that it's worth the cost of just running one wire and running one Aquabus cable. And it is difficult sometimes, I get that.
Yeah,
but that is the answer to the question I can give you.
I mean, Terrence, it really adds up, right? And you add a feature, and that feature may sound great to a certain subset of customers, but at the end of the day, does everyone really want to pay for that feature?
Right.
And you may say, this guy right here, oh, wow, we might get 30 people that say, yeah.
And that happens a lot.
It happens a lot. But is that truly representative of everyone?
Right. For sure. Okay, let's see if I can find one more on here. Let's try one from early on, somebody who came in early. Let's see here. I don't see another question.
Yeah.
Do you see one, Paul?
No, I was watching the stream in the comments. I didn't see anything too early that, guys, we're here.
You see, this...
I don't know about that one.
Another wireless... another good comment from somebody it says also, if the wave is obstructed or a snail gets in there, it also will shut off. It can let you know. Another interesting thing too is if you happen to hear a funny sound, that's a funny rhythmic sound, many times it's likely like a seraph snail or something that's sticking its shell into your wave pump.
Or they just start to graze that outside magnet.
Yeah. Somebody else, DJ's Reef, said, where can we buy the Control Freak swag?
Well, I can tell you.
We do have our online store. That's available at store.neptunesystems.com?
Neptunesystems.com/store.
Okay. And but the best way to get swag is we're all around the country at events, okay? And so you come to those. And if you can't get to one of those, you come to a live stream called Let's Talk Reef, and you leave your comments or questions, and then we're going to pick one of you, and you're going to get swag. So that's the best way. Well, I think that's probably all the questions we're going to take for right now. We're going to roll this thing out at just under an hour, and I think we covered a lot of ground here in a lot of areas. Hope you guys liked it. It's something we want to keep doing. Tell your friends about it. Share around the recorded version of this after the fact, and get them to watch the live stream. Thanks so much for joining us, and until November 13th,
right,
2 weeks from today at 5 p.m., come back and watch another Let's
Talk Reef.
Talk Reef. There we go.